What you're about to see is a home movie shot by my late sister, Josephine Harrison, between 1965 and circa 1976. It gives the viewer a glimpse into the lives we led while living at 43 Herbert Avenue in Port Washington, in that dear old house. How did this court-métrage come about? One day, while clearing out the attic, I came upon some footage shot, I presume, with an 8mm movie camera, dispersed in bits and pieces and lying here and there on the attic floor. I gathered up the celluloid strips and asked my friend Alan, the owner of Fifth Dimension Video in Manhattan, to do his best to put it all together in a coherent fashion, which he did, and with great success. Everyone you see in the movie, dogs and homies alike, are dead now, with the exception of myself and perhaps my brother-in-law, whom I haven't seen for over almost 50 years, Jack Hine. And I, now at 76, am facing the uncertainty, frailty, and loneliness of old age. My sister, whom I believe I never really understood, nonetheless had a keen, acute sense of time passing, of life's brevity. So the viewer sees what we all looked like back then, and the dogs we had who were also part of the family. Here you see my father coming out of the house. It's May 1965, going to his car, that good old green Chevy. Here's my mother, and they're on their way to Washington Irving's home in Sleepy Hollow in Tarrytown. Here you see the expressway. This is Roslyn, New York, the adjoining town to Port Washington. Notice how little traffic there is. We're going back 50 years. And they're on their way to Tarrytown, and to the burial place of the great American writer Washington Irving, who wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Once again, this is May 1965, almost 50 years ago. Here you see, it dates it. You see typewriters, used typewriters bought and sold. This is before the era of the computer. This is our home at 43 Herbert Avenue. It's backyard. This is the next door neighbor, Frank Shepard. Here's my father. There's Treff on the left, my sister's dog, the Weimaraner. This is little, you see little Juma there. Juma I rescued from a little park in Greenwich Village. And that's Muffet, who was more or less abandoned by a neighbor and became part of the family. So we had 3 dogs at that time. That's Juma, low to the ground. Treff, it's my sister. This is 60s. Joan Didion, the great writer, said that each photo carries a regret. This film, which is a succession of images of us as we were then, is an illustration of Didion's wise words. The full cast is as follows. Juma, the low-to-the-ground dog with black and white markings, was found one oppressively hot Friday evening, hence her name Juma, which in English means Friday, in a small park in the West Village. This was during the summer of 1969. Initially, I gave her to a neighbor. Several days later, I saw the neighbor guzzling beer on his stoop with poor little Juma looking mournful tied to the railing. "Can't you even give her water?" I asked. Then I knew that I had to get her back. I learned that Juma was being kept at night in the basement. I asked a neighbor, Chuck Dynamite as he was called, to free her and get her back for me. We descended together into the darkened sous-sol of the building. Juma, who was being kept in a cage, saw me. Her tail began to wag, and we opened the cage to free her, and as they say, the rest is history. Juma came out to Port Washington several days later, and her first act was to lie down in the sun in the backyard. She also loved to be near the fireplace in the wintertime. I miss her dearly. Muffet, the dog with brown and black markings, and who was also mixed parentage, in other words, a mutt, was given to us by a family on the block, which was more or less down on its luck. The third dog, Treff, was my sister's dog, a Weimaraner whom my sister had brought back home from Chicago. It's my mother there. This is what my mother would call a feeding time at the zoo. So. We also see my father, who at the time was 64 and employed as a seagoing butler on the yacht Nanamore. My father, who was born in Hoylake in Great Britain, had lived through the carnage of the Great War in 1914-1918, and thereafter nothing ever seemed to faze him. He met all disappointments with typical British stoicism, with a stiff upper lip. His reaction to any disappointment would be, well, it's not the worst thing in the world. My mother was from Scotland and also in the UK. We see also my brother-in-law, Jack Hine, a professional gambler, in this movie. My sister and Jack, her husband, had met at the Eagle Bar in Chicago in the early 60s when Joe was still flying as a stewardess for Capital Airlines. In addition, you see Alexander Harrison wearing his tweed sport jacket from Austin Reed. Then there's another shot of me in more informal dress in the backyard. One of my sister's favorite expressions was, "All the time is passing." Once again, notice how little traffic there is on the roads. This is Long Island. Here we are back at 43, and that's Poochie, a cat that was rescued back in 1971. And here I am, I think. Yeah, here are two of the kids. This must have been early spring. The 70s. This is near Manor Haven in Port Washington. That's my sister. One final point should be made. When my sister's marriage evaporated, she came back from Chicago, quit the airlines, and took a succession of low-paying jobs on the island, one of which was as a hot walker at Belmont Raceway for the trainer Johnny Campo. Jo is also quite a good rider and horsewoman, and the final shots of the film show her galloping around the track on her favorite horse, whose name after all these years escapes me. I am reminded of the ancient Latin maxim, sic transit gloria mundi, how transitory are the things of this world.